All right, everyone. So I'm here with Aarons and Henson, the founders of FeedbackWhiz. Guys, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today.
Yeah, thanks, Casey, for having us on. It's a pleasure to finally get to record something with you guys.
Yeah, great to be here, Casey. Thank you.
No, thank you. So for those of you who don't know, FeedbackWhiz has just been blowing up over the last couple of years. And they're just, I think I met you guys about a year ago, and you guys had kind of just gotten started. You guys mind sharing a little bit of the backstory behind FeedbackWhiz and how you guys have become such a big name so quickly?
Sure. I'll start off and then I'll hand it off to Aaron. So my name's Henson and I'm one of the co-founders. Me and Aaron's are the co-founders of FeedbackWhiz. And basically how we started was, I've been basically selling on Amazon and eBay since I was in high school. So I've been in this e-commerce world for since 1999. So I sold all types of stuff. I've done, retail arbitrage, I've done private label. And just about 5 or 6 years ago, Amazon was kind of like coming out of nowhere, right? Like eBay was still the #1 platform, and then Amazon just came out and it became really popular. So I got into Amazon, did some private label with some of my extended family that does in the manufacturing of clothing. So we did a lot of private label clothing products and just kind of learned the whole entire system on how to launch products on Amazon, what's the different ways I need to do to grow my brand, how to get better ranking and all that good stuff. So at that time, we were managing thousands of ASINs and SKUs. And as most sellers don't have that problem. But for me, it was hey, I needed to figure out how to manage my time better. How am I able to automate some of these tasks I have to do? So I looked into, using some of the software out there. And at that time, there wasn't too many choices. And when I used them, I realized, hey, this is a really good tool, but it could be developed in a much better, more efficient way. And there could be a lot more things that we could do here. So that's where Aaron's kind of came along, and we've been friends for a really long time, and his background is actually in software development. I reached out to him. He's like, hey, let's build some test programs or just some quick software for my own store, and let's test it out and see how it goes. So we both started just developing some of these tools. Mainly it was email automation that we kind of started off, and doing the monitoring for reviews and just one thing started building to another, and then we realized, hey, this is actually pretty cool. I think we can actually maybe just start a company or build a brand out of it, because we're both working high tech, Silicon Valley jobs, 9 to 5. It was good life, good money, but things get a little bit boring, and it's not the same thrill as running your own company. So we thought, hey, this would be a perfect opportunity for us to try this out, see how it goes. It's a huge risk, but both of us have pretty good experience and knowledge in this field. So we felt like, hey, this is a really cool industry to try to get into, and that's kind of how it started.
Nice. And when was that? When did you guys start getting your first FeedbackWhiz customers?
We launched officially in November of 2017. So that's pretty much when we started getting our customers. But it was kind of a challenge at the beginning.
Oh yeah.
Just how it is, right? You start off from scratch, nobody knows about you, and no one wants to give you their API connection. It's a lot of it was a struggle in the beginning, but as we we're able to reach out to more of the influencers in the Amazon world and show them, hey, this is our tool, this is what we can do, and then people quickly realize, hey, this is really awesome, the stuff you guys had. And even one of the first tools we had in the beginning was a buyer review matching. You don't even remember that.
Yeah.
But we were actually the first ones to actually automate that whole process, which is we no longer have that just because Amazon doesn't allow it anymore. But that kind of gave us an edge over some of the other tools out there. And then people realize, hey, our software and our platform, our UI and everything is just a lot better. And maybe I can have Aaron's talk a little bit more about the actual development side of the software, since he's the guy that created it. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is Aaron Lee. I'm the CTO and co-founder of FeedbackWhiz. Yeah, and yeah, similar to Hanson, I started off in the e-commerce world in college when I saw a lot on eBay when it was pretty much the Wild West and you could pretty much sell anything that you wanted. So I got my feet wet selling stuff on eBay, and then I went to school for engineering, software engineering, and then always had the mindset of wanting to start my own business as well in startups. So I worked at a few startups in the SaaS world. I also worked at some big companies. So I got a lot of exposure on what it takes to run a software company. And when Hanson told me about his his venture into Amazon, I was like, wow, that's cool. At the time, I was pretty new to Seller, so when he asked me to write some software for him, I was like, wow, this is this is pretty easy to do. Like Amazon's API is not the greatest, but I mean, you could definitely make some customers happy with some software that we could build. So yeah, that's when we launched FeedbackWhiz. We did some alpha testing and beta testing, and yeah, I mean, luckily we had met some right people along the way to help us out, and yeah, that's where we're at now.
Nice.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, are you guys still selling on Amazon, or are you guys like full-time FeedbackWhiz?
We're full-time FeedbackWhiz right now. Like I don't manage any of my Amazon stores or anything like that anymore. It's just my family does that.
Okay.
And, yeah, eventually, we would like to, have another company that, launches products and just test out, some of the, because Amazon's always changing, right? So,
right.
You always want to try to be in that selling world too. So you learn about all the changes and improvements that are coming along. That way you can help develop better software for our customers too. So, in the future, we might try to, I don't know, start another company or something, and maybe help just like not sell products to profit, but sell products to show the world like, hey, this is how you, build a brand, and this is how you can sell on Amazon. So it's more like educational. And then at the same time, we can learn from it too. So.
Yeah.
Right.
So reviews are like the hottest topic. Well, one of the hottest topics on Amazon consistently, right? And especially for new sellers, gaining reviews are difficult. It's a chicken and the egg scenario. Like, what is your guys' strategy or suggested strategy for new sellers as they look to kind of ramp up their Amazon business?
Yeah, so reviews is always a tough thing to get, right? Because back in the days, 2012, 2013, like, anyone can just write a review, put it on there, and it shows up, right? It could be unverified, verified, it could be paid for, or whatever, incentivized. Like Amazon didn't care. And then come 2017, 2018, that's where everything started to come down, and Amazon's like, hey, you can't do this. We're tracking where reviews are coming from, taking everything away. So it's really hard to get reviews. And, for new sellers, we usually say, try the early review program on Amazon, get that, 5-10 reviews first to just establish a little bit of, just credibility for your product, right? And then after that, once you start getting those organic sales, having a good product insert, having a really good email automation sequence, right? These are all ways to get more reviews. And with FeedbackWhiz, what we try to do is help you get the maximum conversions, get the most reviews when you send out those messages. Since right now, Amazon doesn't really like sellers like communicating with the buyers too much, right? They kind of want to keep that on a kind of a minimal level. But they still allow you the opportunity to reach out to them, ask them, customer service, ask for reviews, ask for feedback. So you really have to maximize that opportunity because you only get like, 1 or 2 messages at most. You don't want to send them too many. So you got to make sure that the messages you send out are effective. They're opening the messages. So your subject lines have to be really good. The content, the template has to be really good. When they open it up, it has to be engaging, right? You want to make sure that they actually, follow through. So you don't want to just be blindly sending out emails and not get anything out of it. So that's kind of what we do here is to help, maximize that conversion for you guys to get reviews. Yeah.
So, I know Aaron's pulled some data around average review rates and so forth. Could you guys walk us through what is the most effective review strategy when it comes to using an email follow-up sequence like FeedbackWhiz? How can you maximize your review rates?
Yeah, Aaron, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, really, to allude what Hansen was saying, the email follow-up sequence is important because you want to establish that relationship with your buyer, to let them know that, you know, you're there as a seller, you care about them, and if anything is wrong, you know, you can reach out to them and take care of the issue. So depending on what kind of product you're selling, like Hansen said, you want them to respond to the email as efficiently as possible, right? So our tool keeps track of email open rates, and we see that the higher converting open rates are around 40 to 60%. So if you get 60% of your emails open, you know, you get a high chance of someone leaving a review, right? So we also have tools to test different subject lines, right? So some certain subject lines may work better than other subject lines, depending on what you're selling. We also...
Sorry, yeah, just off that, what are some of the strategies around subject lines? How can sellers go and hit that 50, 60% open rate? Because that's pretty high.
Yeah, I think what we've seen is just keeping it simple, right? Keeping it simple, not adding too much wordage to it. Like, you know, perhaps it's like, hey, regarding your Amazon order ID number, or hey, you know, something important message about their email. Obviously, you don't want to use the important tag as much because, you know, that's something that Amazon will flag you pretty quickly with, right? So,
gotcha.
Yeah, we have some, probably about 5 or 10 or so, like really effective subject lines, and basically it's very simple. It's like, hey, regarding your order, here's some information, or, you know, the re tag, the RE, seems to be very effective in opening the emails. So yeah, so our dashboard gives you all those numbers. So if we detect that, you know, your open rates are like 20, 30%, you know, it's pretty low. So you could do some A/B testing to try to bump it up. And then after that, you want to create the actual email template using our HTML editor to make it appealing, right? So you can add buttons so that the CTAs are easier to see and follow through. You can add, you know, animated Gifs or emojis to make your emails like very lively. Of course, depending on your brand, you want to maybe sometimes keep it professional.
Yeah.
Right. So kind of cater to your audience and your product, and then, you know, just remind them that, hey, we're there for you as a seller, right? So this will mitigate negative reviews and increase your chances of, you know, getting positive reviews done, right?
So yeah, so a couple of things I want to point out. When we used to offer a service not to send out the emails, but we would actually craft and test your emails for you. Some of the buzzwords that we saw, you know, you had mentioned like for example, some of the buzzwords that we would use to be really effective is if we use Amazon in the subject line, that was more effective. And I think a lot of sellers tend to want to like use their brand, and a lot of buyers probably didn't really pay too close attention to what your brand is. So saying, you know, let's say that my brand is Dr. Tobias, and saying Dr. Tobias's fish oil is on your way or something, that may look kind of, you would infer that maybe this looks like a sales email and someone is just going to throw it away. But when we use Amazon, we saw great open rates. And I think the subject line, you know, you guys have a lot more data. We, I think, ran up to like a couple thousand tests, but you guys have run probably tens of thousands of tests collectively across your users. One of the subject lines that we saw working really well was something to the effect of like, did your order arrive, or was your order lost, or something like that, because that triggers someone to say like, oh, well, shoot, was my order lost? And they'll go open it. And then that's the opportunity to kind of really talk to them in the way that you want. So I don't know if you have any other like examples of buzzwords or things that you see working well outside of the read, but those were a couple for us.
Yeah, I think you nailed it too, Casey, because one of our top subject lines is read, did you get it? ? So someone was asking them a question, and like you said, it kind of alarms them for a second because they have to open it and they don't know what it's about, right? So
Right.
the psychology behind them opening the email really is that, can you send them a message where they don't know exactly what that email is about, but it's intriguing enough for them to open it, right? That's really how that subject line works. And like you said, if they put in their brand name, or they put anything too direct, like, could you leave us a review, or could you share us an experience? Those kind of subject lines get very low open rates because, you know, a person looking at it already knows what it's about. They might not have the time right now to deal with it, and then they'll forget about it. They won't open it. But something more mysterious or indirect or more vague are the ones where, hey, it might alarm them, or not alarm them, but just they're out of curiosity. They're going to be more attracted to open it. Yeah.
That's fair. So, all right. So the question that everybody asks, how many emails and what is the timing that you should be sending these emails out? What's the data telling us?
Yeah, so the best time to send an email is in the morning, and anywhere from 10 a.m., 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Pacific time, right? So
Interesting.
yeah, even on a outside of Amazon email marketing world too, morning time is the best, or after work. Yeah, and then as far as the email sequences, yeah, maybe Hanson, you could talk about that.
Yeah, in terms of email sequences, these days, back in the days, I think when we first started, a lot of sellers were sending out like 3 or 4 emails, sometimes 5, right? And the problem with that is that the customers are getting too many emails on their side. They started getting angry. They complained to Amazon. And then that's why Amazon introduced that third-party opt-out. Now buyers have the opportunity to not receive any communications, right? So that became a problem. And then there's been a rumor saying, oh, Amazon only allows people to send 1 review request email, right? So that's been going on for a few years. They actually enforced that for a very short amount of time earlier this year, for like a few days, and then they got rid of it. So as of today, if you look in their TOS, there's nothing saying that you can't send more than 1 request email. However, recently Amazon has been sending out violation or policy warning letters to people. And one of the items flagged on there is sending excessive amount of emails. So it's kind of a gray area right now. Like, nobody really knows how many emails you're allowed to send and what's the right number. But we usually recommend to send out 2 emails at most. Some people send 3, which is okay. But you just don't want to send too many emails. And usually 2 emails is good. The first email you can send out could be right when the order has been shipped. And that email is very important because that's the first communication you're pretty much starting with the buyer. And in that email, you're not asking for leaving a review or feedback. What you're doing in this email really is to give the buyer some information about the product. So it could tell them there's a tracking number, your order's been delivered, shipped. Here's a contact us button in case anything happens when you receive the product. Please reach out to us, right? And then a lot of the brand sellers, what they do is they'll create like a PDF file or attachment, and they'll attach it to that email because you're basically giving some free information for the product. So it could be like product instructions, it could be tips on how to use the product. So buyers really like that. Like, if I bought something on Amazon and someone sent me an email and they gave me like a free document or something to help me complement the product, it's actually really good because you're kind of engaging with them to start that positive buyer experience. And then after you send that email out, so that email also serves the purpose to prevent negative reviews. So in case like something happens, they can contact you directly. And then the second email usually...
Real quick. Yeah. If I could share an example that, maybe other people can resonate with. So, I recently bought a pre-workout and on Amazon, and on the product being shipped, I received an email just saying, hey, this is the company, here's what we stand for. We're really excited. And we also have some tips to make sure that, you're really successful with this pre-workout, or, they use the right language, making sure this pre-workout helps you to hit new goals, blah, blah, blah. And then, in the PDF, they talk about, if you've never taken pre-workout, like one thing, depending on the type of pre-workout and what it has in it, it can make your face tingle or different, extremities tingle, if you will. And so like, they're kind of trying to actively, thwart any potential bad reviews, but then also making sure that you like this brand that you're working with and making sure that you're actually going to get the most out of your product and be successful. So just wanted to share an example to make it a little more tangible for people that are listening.
Right. That's exactly what, the sellers use it for. And like you said, branding, right? Like you could throw in your brand logo inside that template, right? As long as it's not linked outside of Amazon, it's fine, right? It's a way for you to enhance your brand reputation. So
Nice.
Yeah, that first email is really important. And after you send out that first email is where you can figure out when to send the second email out. The second email is where, you want to follow up with them one more time, make sure that, they don't have any issues with the product or the order. And then there you can ask them for, either seller feedback or a product review, right? And this is where you have to be a little careful on how you ask for it, because Amazon right now is, they've imposed a lot of different rules on how you can ask for these reviews. And the language can't be suggestive, which means like you can't give them like an if and then an else statement. You can say, if you had a good experience with this product, then could you please leave us a review, right? Because really Amazon wants to make sure these reviews are unbiased, they're unincentivized, right? So you have to kind of break up the way you write it and maybe have a paragraph where you ask them, if you had a good experience, if there's any issues, please contact us, right? And then in a separate paragraph, there you can write something very straightforward and just say, if you have a few minutes, would you mind, could you please leave us an unbiased product review, or just please leave us a product review, right? So you don't want to try to tie any trigger words into that sentence. Like you don't want to say, please leave us a positive review or anything like that, because those are all trigger words that Amazon will end up, flagging you and sending you a policy violation. So you do have to be careful on how you ask for it, but they could be very effective if, if you have the right message, the right pictures. And if you put in like buttons where it's very easy for them to see it, definitely we see people that put in buttons inside their templates have much better conversions, or just general more reviews come in versus using like text links or just a bunch of text, right? Because the visual part of when you open email matters a lot. So
interesting. Do you guys have any data around, how photos or GIFs or, graphics impact reviews? It sounds like you have some data around how buttons impact the review rate. I was just curious if you guys have looked into like some of the actual content or the media in that content.
Yeah, I don't think we've pulled any actual hard numbers out of it, but I know in general that, the accounts that use media, animated GIFs, or having custom buttons that look like, something clickable rather than the texting, those accounts overall get much higher reviews coming in as a percentage versus people that use like just a generic, like, hey, how's your experience, or a small family, whatever, the general template you get usually when you buy Amazon. So I would definitely say that if you are using, email automation tool, it doesn't matter if you're using FeedbackWhiz or another tool, try to throw in more engaging pictures, especially in the beginning, because studies show that you only have like 3 or 4 seconds when they open the email to get their attention, right? So the very first thing when they open the email, it has to pop in their face.
Yeah.
Right? So it could be a funny picture, it could be something more professional, it could be brand logo, but just try to make it something engaging. Especially one of the best things that we suggest for our audience is to study the demographics of who's buying your products, right? Because everyone's selling different product and there's always a different audience, right? So some products could cater towards like women, some kind of products could cater towards men, right? So the messaging or the pictures that you throw in there, you want to try to cater it more to those kind of people. And then that way, that's how you build that personalized experience, and then you'll get better conversions that way.
Yeah, nice. So I have 2 questions here, but one question is, when do you send that second email? You could send it the next day, the day they receive it, all the way to 2 months or whatever after they receive it. So when are you guys sending that second email, or what's the data saying?
That's a very subjective question, because it depends on the product you're selling, right? Because some products, they could literally test it, open the box, and then say, hey, this is a good product, and write you a review. And then some products might take some time for them to assemble. Some products might take time for them to actually evaluate. Like if you're doing supplements, like you said, Dr. Tobias earlier, there's no way someone's going to write you a review after 3 days or even a week, right? They might need at least a couple of weeks to a month before they can actually see some results and write you a review. So the timing on the second email is really important. And that's where like you got to spend some time and figure out, if I was the first person that bought this product, how long would it take me to actually evaluate it, right? So if you're like selling a cell phone case, then it could be a few days, right? It could be like 3 or 4 days. Give enough time to like get the package. Like personally for me, I don't always open my packages right away when I get it the same day. Like sometimes I'm busy, right? It might take me a day or two to get it. So personally, I would say, for items that are something you could slap on and try right away, maybe wait like 4 or 5 days after delivery. And for items that take longer, whatever that time frame is, and add a little bit more time to it. So, longer is usually better than shorter, because if you ask them for a review too early, if they haven't even tested out your product, there's no way they're going to leave a review for you, right? And if you wait too long, then maybe they forgot about it, but it's still better than, too early. So
yeah. When we were, again, I don't have nearly as much data as you guys. When we were running these tests, almost always, it was relatively product dependent, but almost always, even for like beauty type products, we would ask them somewhere around the like 4 to 5 day mark. And we tried 30 days. We tried a broad range, but at least we felt like, maybe today, so many people buy so many products from Amazon. And so we felt like the 4 to 5 day mark seemed to produce the best click-through rates for us. And the inference, or what we tried to infer was like, okay, maybe people would just kind of forget, like you said, about what the product was, or they forget about their experience, or something that I think happens, again, this is me like trying to interpret the data, was more like, when you buy something on Amazon, you're like excited to get that product. And even, a day, couple days, few days after having the product, you're still, pretty excited about that thing, assuming that you had a good experience. And so, capturing people in that kind of like elated state, or, that excitement, at least is maybe why we were seeing better rates. But yeah. Right.
Yeah. It seems like your data and our data is pretty close, right? So it seems like that 4 or 5 days is a sweet spot. And then if you have a product that requires longer evaluation times, then you can adjust for that accordingly. But yeah, definitely.
One question, the absolute classic message is, we're a small family business, and your review means the world to us. Do you guys still see a lot of people using that? And do you feel, so you didn't really outline that in your example, is that not working as well as kind of what you had talked about?
Yeah. So when a lot of people use that message, I don't know if it's still very effective or not, but in general, if people use the same message as everyone else, and if you're a buyer and every product that you buy says, hey, we're a small business owner, it starts to lose its effectiveness, right? Because then you start to wonder, are they really a small business? Or are they just using this message to, reel me in, right? To make me feel for them. So my suggestion is, if you're a brand and you really are a small business, then say you're a small business. And, some of our users actually put a picture of their small business or their family, right? That could be something that, enhances, or it proves that you are a small business, or, but otherwise try to keep it real, right? Because, people hate marketing emails. I don't like marketing emails because it just seems so salesy and it feels like it's not real, right? So the best emails are real, the ones that are really personalized. So if you can, put a real message in there that really connects with them, then they'll have the, I don't know what the word is, not compassion, but they'll feel good about it, and then they're more willing to leave you a review or sell our feedback. So try to keep it real. That's my suggestion.
Keep it real. I love it. So another question, I don't know if you guys are familiar. There's a specific URL that you can use that automatically applies the stars.
Right.
And so I've seen some massive 3P products using this in their email follow-up sequence. What are your guys' thoughts?
That's a good question. I mean, Amazon allows it, right? Because it's a code you can put inside the review link. It's basically a colon, and then you can put a number. So if you put like 1, then it'll fill 1 star. Put 5, it'll fill in 5 stars.
Yeah.
And since they allow it, technically, you know, and there's not against the terms of service, technically you can use it, right? And they haven't said anything about it. And yeah, I would suggest that if you have the ability to do that, then why not? Right? I mean, if you want, if you pre-fill 5 stars for them, then if Amazon doesn't say anything about it, then go for it. The second that Amazon says, hey, you can't do this anymore, then yeah, get rid of it. That's my suggestion. And inside our email templates, as of today, we do offer that.
Okay. So
some of the stars that we have are pre-filled. So we have the non-filled stars and the pre-filled stars. Gotcha. But of course, you know, as the buyer, they have the ability to pick 1 star if they want to. It's just when they open the page, it just fills 5 stars for them.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. I didn't know if you guys had seen anybody get in trouble for using that or anything like that.
Yeah, we haven't heard or seen anyone get in trouble with that, and we haven't seen anything from Amazon saying you couldn't do it. And plus, Amazon's allowing that through their code because, you know, it's a link that we have to generate. If it doesn't work on their end, it doesn't work at all. So
yeah, that's fair.
So far, so good. Yeah.
All right. So at a high level, just if you guys could. What are your top tips for success in using email follow-ups to gain reviews or just gaining reviews in general?
Yeah, top tips is really understand your product, understand your audience, right? And then spend a little bit of time to craft up a really nice personalized template, right? And then use all the best practices like, you know, keep it short and simple. Don't put too much word inside, right? Put in pictures, put in your brands, use buttons. Try to work on the spacing too, right? Because if you send them a glob of text, it's hard to read. People tend to not read it, right? So if you mix it up a little bit with pictures, words, you know, use Giphy. Giphy is a really good resource because you can have a picture that describes the whole sentence or a block of words, right? Using thank you or, you know, those are all good things that you could put inside your emails to get higher conversions. Like Aaron's mentioned earlier, the timing on when to send it out, you know, usually mornings are better since people check emails in mornings, but you can A/B test it, right? Maybe the product you're selling or the audience you're selling, it could vary, right? So the best thing to do is to try to, you know, build something, try it out, and see how it works. And if it doesn't work well, you know, try something different, right? Because everybody has a different product, everyone has a different audience. You know, even though our data shows that, you know, like if you didn't use email automation or didn't use inserts, you know, maybe only 1% of people will leave your review. But if you use all the best practices and you can get it to like 5 or 6, 7%, some people see it. But it doesn't always mean that it'll work for you, right? Because you have a different product, different brand. And some people just don't like leaving reviews. So the best strategy, I would say, yeah, keep the messages real. You know, put in pictures, test out your subject lines, and just provide good customer service. Usually those are the best things that you can suggest.
Aaron's anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think Hanson covered it pretty well there. Yeah, it's just, you know, making sure to optimize, and making sure that you and your team look at the email. There's no errors, obvious errors and stuff like that. I mean, making sure all the links work all the time. So we have all those, you know, tools available so that you could have an effective campaign, right? So you want to keep an eye on all those metrics to just keep improving and ultimately increase your review rate and positive reviews.
Nice. Yeah. My number one tip is just to split test, because you know, you might have a good subject line that's getting 50% open rate, but if you could take that to 60% or, you know, from 40% to 60%, it's going to be significant over time. And then top tips on what not to do or mistakes that you see other people make.
Yeah, the biggest mistakes that people make is that they don't understand that this Amazon email or buyer messaging system is really only intended for a couple of purposes, right? One is to provide good customer support, right? And give them any information about the product. Some people have customized products, so they need to communicate. right? And the third thing they allow you to do is really you can, get reviews or ask for reviews or ask for feedback, right? But besides that, it's not for marketing purposes, right? Like most of the people don't understand that. They think like, hey, I could attach a promo code and send it out to everyone, or here's a link to my website, or here's my email address, contact me, right?
Yeah.
These are all things that you are not allowed to do. And right now Amazon is really cracking down on this. So if you try to do any of these things, I don't know if they have some system or they probably have a program right now that's tracking all this, and they will flag your account. So it's not worth it. It's not worth trying to do this kind of things, because in the end, what will happen is you'll get your account suspended and then you'll have no sales, which is the worst thing in the world, getting no sales, right? So these are the common mistakes people use. And then a lot of people don't like the best practices I said earlier about putting all the pictures and stuff. Like if you're not doing that, then you're probably not getting very good conversions. So definitely focus on I'm trying to think what else is I don't know if Aaron's has any other things not to do.
Just double checking. I think sometimes sellers get confused, even sellers, which is amazing, get confused about seller feedback and product reviews, and they'll put like both link requests in the email when they really want just product reviews. So maybe just, advice is just have a clear agenda and messaging with the email content, so they do leave you the correct, either seller feedback or product review.
Nice. And yeah, I forgot to ask this. It's kind of been brought up, but what is the difference that you guys are seeing? What's the standard review rate without an email follow-up sequence? And then kind of what types of review rates are you guys seeing for people that are using your platform effectively?
Yeah, I think the standard review rate is about 1%. And with our accounts, we've been seeing anywhere from 5 to 7% review rates.
Nice.
Close to 90% of them would be positive product reviews.
Nice. Amazing. I guess, is there anything that I didn't ask that I should have?
Not that I can really think of.
Oh yeah, nothing I can think of.
Awesome. All right. So one last question. Why do people choose FeedbackWhiz over one of the other feedback providers?
The main reason they choose ours is because our platform is really easy to use. You don't have to know HTML or like be proficient in software or anything to use our tool, especially to generate some of these emails. Like some of the best practices that we talked about earlier about generating pictures and buttons. These are all things that you can literally just copy and paste directly to your editor, and everything is like formatted. It's really easy to use, right? So. Yeah. The analytics, setting up, getting the data, setting up the campaigns. There's a lot of data that we grab from Amazon that we can now implement into your campaigns. So like to help you better target the people that you're trying to reach out to. So for example, one of the newest features that we recently developed is something called Seller Central Notifications. So right now inside Seller Central, they recently changed it where you can basically toggle a lot of different notifications on and off, like what kind of messages you want to get from Amazon, what kind of messages you don't want to get from Amazon. So for example, like buyer messaging, right? If you don't want to receive any message from buyers, you can turn that off. Or if you don't want to receive messages about refunds or returns, you can turn those on and off. But they also give you the opportunity to add additional email recipients to that section. Meaning that if I had a friend or family or a different email account that wanted to get that same email, you can do that. So what we've done here at FeedbackWhiz is for every single account, we give you a special FeedbackWhiz at feedbackwhiz.com account email address where you can now put that inside the Seller Central notification as additional email recipients. So for data like refunds, returns, third-party opt-outs, we get that data right away, and then we integrate it back into your account. Because traditionally right now, the Amazon API, a lot of the data that comes through is actually not real time. It could be delayed from days to weeks. Yeah. And let's say you, had a refund on your product and you're sending out an automated email sequence. You obviously don't want to ask them for a review if they refund your product because they had a bad experience, right? So if that data comes in days or weeks later, your email goes out to someone that you're not supposed to send out email to. So because we have some of these capabilities, we make it very effective and efficient when you send out the emails to make sure that, hey, we're actually only sending out to the people that are supposed to get it, not to the people that shouldn't be getting your emails. So in a way, it's not just getting a lot of good reviews, but it's also trying to prevent the negative reviews, because negative reviews hurt a lot, right? You need like 6 positives to cancel out a negative, right? So, and then dealing with people that had negative experiences is a pain, right? So yeah, that's kind of the stuff that we have here that makes it a lot more pleasant for sellers to use.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, guys. Again, any last thing that you want to share?
Not really, man. I mean, it's been a pleasure talking with you, Casey, and hopefully we'll get you on one of our podcasts and get our audience to a little bit more familiar with Viral Launch and some of the tools you guys are creating and how you can help them out too.
Nice. Yeah. So what's next for FeedbackWhiz? How can you guys, or what's the plan to continue to innovate and help sellers more and more?
Yeah. Immediate timeline right now, we just want to keep improving our feedback platform, right? There's just so many functionalities and tools and different parts of this email automation side that we can continuously improve on. And then, we are working on some other tools. We're providing more analytics and more listing notifications for sellers. And, eventually we want to just be like, just not sending emails, but we want to provide a lot of data and, ways for sellers to, understand the data and how they can effectively use the data and, generate more sales. So
yeah, amazing. Yeah. Nice. Awesome. Well, Aaron, Henson, thank you guys so much for coming on. And yeah, I highly recommend, you guys have a free trial, correct?
Yeah, we have a 30-day free trial. So you don't even need a credit card, just sign on. And then our full tools, it's all unlocked, so you could use all the features. And then,
nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, guys, thank you so much. And I really appreciate it. Hope you guys have a good rest of your day.
Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And for more information, please visit feedbackwhiz.com.